this debate will come to order. I am pleased to welcome you to the Spring 2018 Debate and Argumentation Final. The motion under discussion is, this House would require Jamaican Member of Parliament, MPs, to live in the constituency which they represent. On the government side, we have Prime Minister Onyeka Nevins, Deputy Prime Minister Shanique Haylet, Member of Government Rion Barton, and Government Whip Javon Thomas. On the opposition, we have Leader of Opposition J.V. Burgess, Deputy Leader of Opposition Shanice Reid, Member of Opposition Najee Powell, and Opposition Whip Giovanni Ashman. I would like to express a sincere welcome to our adjudicators, Chief Adjudicator Jermaine Barrett, CEO, Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment, JADE, Wing Adjudicators Jessica Timmel, National Collegiate Debating Championship 2017 winner, and Roxanne White, Youth Empowerment Officer for Manchester. We have Noreen Daly, Chair for the Department of Communication Studies, as our timekeeper. My name is Dalkeith James, and I am your moderator. All speakers will have 7 minutes in which to deliver their remarks. 15 seconds grace will be allowed. I will then immediately call upon the next debater to begin his or her arguments. So speakers, please pay keen attention to the clapper. Are there any questions regarding the rules? I now call upon the Right Honorable, the Prime Minister, to open the debate for 7 minutes.
Honorable House, I'm impressed to start this debate by asking, do you like when your daddy is home? Or do you like when your mommy is home? How do you relate to a significant figure, parental figure, being home? You see, on this side of the bench, or house, we value stability and representation in a structure. In fact, we value democracy and what democracy has to offer. We value democracy to the extent that we stand here in affirmation of the motion, this House would require the Jamaican Member of Parliament, MP, to live in the constituency they represent. How do we interpret this motion? We see the motion as asking, how do we achieve representation and accountability in government for the people? And the solution provided is to allow the MPs to live in the one solution that is to allow the MPs to live in the constituency that they represent. So what are we more or less saying and are we not saying by this motion? Okay, we are saying that MPs can go to other communities, they can move in and out of the community that they represent, they can visit other communities. They, however, must have a residence, whether rental or owned, within the community that they should represent on a governmental level. It's almost as if we're saying they should have an invested interest in the community that they represent, not just a psychological or non-tangible sort of representation, but something invested that can be touched. We are also saying that living does not mean that out of the entire year, the MP must be there every day, twice on Sunday, 100% of the year. No, they are representing the people of that community and may have to leave on various business trips and various occasions. So we are thinking that if you have an invested interest in the community, whether property or otherwise, at least your family or at minimum your representation to at least 40% of the time should be within that community. And you're going to see why from our side, especially what my deputy will bring forward, why this is actually beneficial and advantageous. What are we also saying? We're saying that living away from the community, that is staying 100% away or even 70% away because you do not own or have an invested interest there, is insufficient to achieve the level of democracy that we value and we are achieving. And my deputy will extend on that a little further. In fact, what you'll get on our side, which my deputy will show you, is greater accountability and greater representation, in addition to the advantages that you'll achieve on this side of the house by putting this policy in place. Now, how do we go about this? We say 5 approach. The agency that's responsible, yes, will be the government through its bylaws and constitution. The mandate is simple. Make it a requirement for those who are choosing to be MPs and represent a community to live in that community or have some invested interest in that community through some asset and that sort of thing. How will it be enforced? We are saying that for you to be qualified to run as an MP, you must at least satisfy that requirement before you can go forward. This doesn't require any significant funding. And so, in a nutshell, what we are more or less saying is that from you decide to represent a constituency, you must live there, simply not just choose to represent the community and live in another community or anything such as that. With that sort of framework and understanding of what we are proposing and contextualization to the debate, I will show you, as the Prime Minister, at least 3 arguments to bolster the value that we will achieve and the democracy, the greater democracy that you'll achieve from our end with this consideration. Now, the first one is that this approach increases democracy. That is, with this sort of approach, you show greater interest and willingness to represent the people. And if it is that you have more interest in the people, you are the people's voice. You are therefore more accessible to the people to know more or less say on an aggregate level, you are understanding the concerns and needs of the people. This, we think, is a greater approach to say, this is what democracy should look like. Voice of the people, especially voice on the people on a micro sort of level. The second thing is that we think that from an economic standpoint, incentive gives a change in behavior. Now, what incentive are we talking about in this instance? We are talking about the fact that people change and people respond to the leaders that represent them. So if it is that we want to quell certain animosities and certain things within a community, it is easier to have the MPs in that community that are on the ground, easily accessible to these situations, and can therefore more or less intervene in discussing or talking with the people so that some amount of behavior change the whole democratic process or some amount of behavior change to the things that are taking place within that community can develop or can ensue. We think that this more or less is a stronger democratic sort of representation.
So far, you've been speaking about members of parliament as if they're some form of Superman, as if they do everything. Please do remember that they do work with a team, a public relations team, and also other members.
Right. And so we are saying that what we value is democracy. And to achieve the greater value from democracy, if it is that you want to represent me, you must show invested interest in at least minimum where I live. I understand that you can subcontract and subdelegate the work, but my greatest confidence comes when I see you representing me. Now, the other thing is this, the third point, from a Prime Minister's standpoint, is the cost-benefit sort of approach to this whole thing. We think that it is cost-saving when it is that you have the MP living in the area that they would want to represent. That is, they own their own homes and their own properties there in that community. Therefore, the government does not need to go renting accommodation for these persons in other sort of vicinities. We think that this pulls less on the government budget. And in truth and in fact, this will now create more money for the government to be able to spend on even the people themselves than internally on the government themselves. So we are saying that when you spend less on yourself, this improves democracy. And it's with this sort of reasoning that we stand full affirmation, supporting the motion that this House will require Jamaican MPs to live in the constituency that they represent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. And we now go to the opposition side to hear from the leader of the opposition. Let's make him welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me this platform to debunk some of the claim that was earlier mentioned by the Prime Minister. Now, one of the first things that the Prime Minister came up here and said is that it increases democracy. But let me ask you this question, Mr. Prime Minister, which I will expound on if you can't answer it. Where do the members of parliament actually represent the people? Is it in the face of the people or where the people aren't going? That is to Jamaica House. That is to overseas where these issues need to be addressed. Yes, you can always hear these issues, but are these MPs going to be just sitting in their offices and hearing issues on a daily basis? What about the advocacy? What about going out there? Now, I'm going to jump into your third point about the cost. Now, I will put it to you, sir, that it will be more expensive to rent a place for MP. And you might also argue the point that you're not saying that you're going to rent a place. But let me ask you a question. Established members of parliament, which we know are most times above the age of 40, will already have a family, will already have a house, will already have businesses. So tell me now, are you going to just uproot these people, put them in a place and say, okay, you live here, your children no longer go to that school, your wife no longer works there? Or are you saying that these persons do not need support from family? Is that what you're telling the people? No. You also, not accepted. You also mentioned the point where they'll be on the ground to manage a crisis. But let me put this to you, as I said in my statement, they're not supermen, they're not superwomen. They have PRO representatives, assistant PRO representatives, and they do have a host of other persons who are responsible for going into the communities. Now, you suggested a 40 to 60 ratio. So they're in a place 60% of the time and out of a place 40% of the time. Going into my points now, the cost of traveling, sir, will be very expensive, and the resources. Now, let me put this to you. How about doing it this way, sir? Having them live near a highway where they can either access their constituency or go to Garden House on any given Monday morning. How about that? Why put them up in Moko when they have to travel to Kingston 3, 4, 5 times a week? How does this make sense? And if this is a case where you're going to tell me that we're going to start MPs on Skype in Garden House, tell me how does this make sense? Tell me how does this person press the button to speak on the microphone to state their claim? It would be more sensible. It would be more sensible to have this sort of relationship with a representative from the office of the MP in the community. We're not saying that they shouldn't go there, you know. We're not saying that they shouldn't go there. Accepted.
The status quo is that MPs travel on a regular basis already. So to say that now they're going to move from Moko to town is a problem, is insufficient for this sort of conversation or this sort of dialogue.
Well, sir, back to my first point. I am saying that your first point, really, you're saying that they represent the people, increases democracy, but where does this democracy take place? Where does this representation take place? Is it up in Moko, sir? No, it is not. It is down in the pits of Garden House. It is at the various media houses where they're called to represent, speak on issues. As I said, and to reiterate, don't get me wrong, we're not saying that they shouldn't go to these places. We're not saying that they shouldn't have a physical presence. But it will be more costly for them to live in that place and have to go to Kingston or any other major city frequently, right? When they can simply collect all the issues that the constituents are having, and then at certain points in the week or in the month, they go to these constituencies and do a personal evaluation. At that point, they'll be able to hear all the crises and all the things that these persons are going through. Now, you have somewhat swayed everybody's thoughts, but let me give you a definition for the word live. Live, to make a home in a particular place, most times permanently. To stay, I will not even bother to define stay, because we all know common sense, to stay is temporary. To live speaks to permanency. Now, going over into my final point. Again, in most cases, members of parliament would already be established, yes, and hence, it can't be a case where you're uprooting their entire families, right? It's either you're doing two things. You're spending more money, just like you did the other day, Mr. Prime Minister, by spending over $1 million on the MP's house. Now tell me now, that $1 million could have gone into more cost-effective measures. It could have gone into more, how do I put this now, more sensible things that could have, one, boosted the advocacy or the democracy, as you put it, Mr. MP, and a host of other things. It could have done so much more for those members of the constituency. Now, coming over, we're currently living in a digital age where we do not, and I say we do not need to travel from XYZ place. I have something to do at the Ministry of Finance up by the hill over there. What am I going to do? I have this piece of paper. What am I going to do, Mr. Prime Minister? Am I going to take myself and walk over there and spend my foot gas money? Or am I going to take up the call and use $20 or send an email? What is more sensible, sir? So now, I put it to you. If you cannot give the people a sensible solution, sir, then I see not the need for this debate. Because if you're going to tell us that they need to be there so that the persons can see them, no, they need to be in the places, sir, where they can make the difference. Because, let me put this to you, it's easier to be in a position to make a difference than to have to spend time, money, and other resources to get to that place where they can actually make that difference.
And with that, we thank the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. We go back to side government now to hear from the Deputy Prime Minister. Let us make her welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Now, the motion before us is simply saying that in Jamaica, it should be a requirement for the MPs, the members of parliament, to live in the constituency in which they reside. And to this house is saying yes. Now, Mr. Opposition Leader, I heard you ranting on and on and on, but I'm of the conclusion that you are suggesting that you would want to run a suggestion box, but the government is strongly rejecting that. I heard you throwing out some questions. You're saying, where do MPs help the people? Now, understand this. Understand that it is insufficient to only hear the issues. As MPs, they also need to see the issues that are affecting the persons. You also mentioned that if we would uproot the MPs and put them somewhere else to live. And we're not saying to uproot the MPs, because what we are proposing is that before you're allowed to become an MP, you would have to reside in that parish. So what you're saying, it makes no sense, and we don't even need to go there. Now, my Prime Minister mentioned a benefit for having the MPs living in the constituency, that it would allow for greater representation and accountability. Now, let me further dive into that by first saying MPs are basically the advocates for the people. Now, I'm wondering, how can you sufficiently advocate for something if you are not necessarily understanding exactly what is happening? Now, remember, the persons we vote and we exercise our democratic rights because we want to see changes happening. Yes, we want to see the changes happening. Something is wrong and we need it to change, and we want the crime to stop, we want the violence to end, we want to have better employment opportunities, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, you're living over there in Manchester and you're running for, let us say you're running for Moko, as you had suggested earlier. Yes, you'll probably hear through the media that Mocha has bad roads, but guess what? When you live in Mocha and you're driving on those bad roads, you're experiencing what the people that you're representing are advocating for, what they are also experiencing, not accepted at this point. Now, personal experiences is a great ground for change, and this is what we are saying on this side of the house. We're saying that if your experience is the same issues, then you'll be better able to advocate for them. Not at this moment. We're also saying that in order to better account and to be more responsible, have you ever been in a community? Well, I've had the experience of being in communities and I've seen things happening and I'm like, who is your MP? Who is your representative? And persons are like, me no know. You know, say I'm not too sure. John Brown, who is the MP? Miss Mary, where the MP name again? Because they don't know these persons. They don't know. Yes, you come in when it is time to have the elections and stuff and so on. A lot of times, that's the first time you're seeing them. But you don't know them. You don't know where to find them. You know nothing at all. You don't know where to go. You have a complaint. You have an issue. It's as if the MP is, as you said, he is a fictional character, the Superman that you alluded to. They're fictional. So it is as if, let me finish my point. It's as if these persons, they're just fictional. They're not people. They're not like us. They don't understand what we're going through. You don't know where to find them. You don't know who to go to when you have certain issues. Haven't you ever seen the news? And they say, where is the MP? We don't know who MP they're left with, this, that, and they go on and on.
Point. No, it is sad that the government thinks that about their own MPs. Secondly, if they're trapped in a place where the roads are bad, how do they get to the point where they actually advocate for the needs of the people to fix the road?
Mr. Opposition, I think you're just ranting on and on right there. Because at the end of the day, they will get out, and when they do get out, is it that you're saying that, every day they'll be trapped in these communities? Well, even better, if you're trapped in the community every day, then you are aware of the issues that are facing the people. And when you go to parliament, when you go to institute the policies, when you go to vote, you can say, look, I have experienced this, and this is what is happening, and this needs to change. And therefore, you'll be better able to stand on a platform for advocacy. And that is what this side of the house is saying. This side of the house is saying that when the MPs live in the area, they're better able to be responsible, and they're better able to be held accountable because they're being faced with the same issues that are facing the people that they are actually representing. In addition to that, as I said earlier, I heard you saying that the MP is not living in the area. But just remember, Mr. Opposition, that these MPs need to live in the area before they enter Parliament. And guess what? I heard you also mentioning about the highways. I don't know how that managed to slip, but you mentioned moving the MPs to the highways. Now, can you tell me, Mr. Opposition Leader, if there's a highway beside every community? Is there a highway in every single constituency? When you can answer that question, Mr. Opposition, then you'll be in a better position to join us on this side of the House to say that, guess what? It should be a requirement for MPs to live in the constituency that they wish to represent. And on that note, I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Prime Minister, for those remarks. And now to conclude the debate in the upper house, we invite the Deputy Opposition Leader. Let us make her welcome.
Madam Judge, guest speaker. So my Deputy Prime Minister stated that they are not able to meet with them and you're not able to get through to them. But my Deputy Prime Minister, there are always counselors provided for them, and also they have assistants at these offices for persons who are not able to see them. Members of Parliament should not live in the constituency they are running for, because it all comes down to a choice. My representation of my role and function should not be limited to where I live. Now, if I decide to do my job as an MP, where I live should never matter. Firstly, why I say this is that it goes against my human right. I should choose where I live because it is my choice. I've made the necessary steps and to help the constituency not accepted. If I made the necessary steps to make that constituency that I want to be voted for, then I think that where I live should not matter. The disciples of Christ, they knew what their mandate was. They know about the job that they had to do for Christ, but they didn't have to live among these people to know what their struggle was or to even know what they needed. What they did was in interaction with the people, MPs are allowed to interact, aren't they? No. I don't have to necessarily be there to know that my people need me and to know that my people are in struggle. Remember, some majority of these MPs used to live in those communities before they moved to a different area. So are you saying that I do not accepted? So are you saying that I do not know the needs of my community members because I moved to St. Elizabeth and I was in Mandeville? I think not. Members of Parliament do not have to live in their constituencies because they have offices provided in each area, as I stated before. For example, if I am unable to see my member of Parliament, say for Linstead, where I live, now there are 2 offices located in my city, so I'm able to go there and to speak my concerns when I need to. In these offices, there are assistants given for persons who need them. So anything that I say will go straight directly to my councillor, and my councillor can direct it to my member of Parliament. Thirdly, not accepted. Living among MPs also doesn't mean that they will serve you. I'm sorry about that. For example, then MP Mr. Azan, he has been on the news many times before, and many persons in the community on the news are always saying that he lives in the community, but he's not doing anything for the community. So what does that mean, living? Why are you limiting my livity to where I should be? You see, from here, not accepted. You can even say he lived in a community, and as a matter of fact, he was born there to correct that. He was born there, and he's still not doing as much as he needs to do for these members. Not accepted. So, to reiterate what my points are, it goes against my human rights that I am a member of parliament and I should be able to live where I want to be. A member of parliament has the right as anyone else to live where they want to be. If I choose to live in St. Elizabeth and I want to be in Mandeville, are you saying that I don't know what my people are saying and I do not need to live there? Not accepted. Not accepted. And secondly, my second point, an MP doesn't have to live in their constituency because MPs do not only intervene when they are in the community. These members of parliament, not accepted. These members of parliament are the ones who also represent each person in parliament. These offices are there as a guide for other persons who are not necessarily able to get directly to these members of parliament. Thirdly, living among MP doesn't necessarily mean that they will serve you in the community. It all comes down for a member of parliament, who they are as a person. It goes down to what change they want for that community. And that's why I stand to say this is why this House disagrees in the motion to require Jamaican members of parliament to live in the constituency they represent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Opposition Leader. And now we go to the closing half of the debate, beginning with the government member. Shall we make her welcome?
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, just to start, the government in power can only exist if it has its support of its members. Just to note. MPs, we must note that MPs have responsibilities to three main groups: their constituents, parliament, and their political party. Now, why wouldn't constituents want their MPs home? I think we have somewhat forgotten the role of an MP. As I go along, you'll understand the role. What are we saying? Or rather, what we are saying is that residents in the community, residents in the community should be represented by someone. It is imperative. Now, living away will not allow for cooperation or, for want of a better word, cohesiveness amongst its constituents. We see it every day. Jamaicans love theatrics. Other countries looking on love to say we're a bunch of dramatic folk. Why? Why do they say this? Because we block roads. Why do we block roads? Well, majority of the time when persons block the roads, it's because their MPs are MIA, missing in action. We need the MPs to be present for one-on-one time, with the people. Having such presence of the MPs will build cohesiveness, togetherness amongst its people. Now, we understand that we don't expect them to be at home all the time, but if they are living in a certain parish, persons should be able to go to them and get some one-on-one time and sit with them and say, sir or madam, this is my case, and expect it, to be corrected. When they signed up, the MPs, when they signed up to be the MP, that was their role. Their job entails moving to another place. So I heard you guys on the opposition saying, oh, they're going to be rooted up and all that. Yes, they will be rooted up if it's a part of their job description. If their job requires them to move, they're going to move. What are they going to tell the people? Oh, I really don't think I can travel. Then bye. That is what you signed up for. If you're going to move, let's go. Family and everybody. Or however they're going to work that out. Not at this time. Now, rooting up and moving to another place, it would be for the betterment of their constituency and at large, the Jamaican society. Now, it would not at all accepted.
So now you're speaking about MPs that is their mummies and daddies, which the Prime Minister said for the people of that constituency. But their mummies and daddies for their own children where they need to be there for.
We're not saying that they won't be there, and that's their personal life, and they will know how to sort that out. You and I aren't the ones who are going to be judges of that. It would not at all affect costs of traveling to Kingston, as I heard you guys saying. Psh, they're given vehicles of millions of dollars. Are you trying to tell me that they can't find chump change to travel?
Point of
No,
information.
I'm not going to accept. I spoke to you a while ago. Collecting crisis. Somebody spoke about collecting crisis notes, having them on paper. Having them on paper will not cut it as an MP. It cannot cut it. We need leaders who will walk into the streets like Mother Teresa and cater to the needs of its people. And yes, I know what you are, about to say. Their MPs, they don't have time. Ha! Funny. And that, my friend, is the problem. Residents and constituents deserve time. These are the people that are rooting for you, are rooted for you, that enabled you to be in the position. So don't tell us that the MPs don't have time. Make time. In order to initiate change, I am not accepting you, JV. Could you sit?
On that point.
In order to initiate change, we need our MPs to be going. I heard someone mention highways, we need our MPs to be going into the highways and byways and feeling the plight of its people. Too long where people are sitting and they're crying out for help. Why aren't they responding? Because they cannot relate. Once you can relate to a certain situation, then you will see the need for accepting. It's one thing to know the name of your MP versus knowing who he or she is. I will repeat that, JV, have a seat. It is one thing to know the name of your MP versus knowing who he or she is as a person, for those who did not understand that. Now, how can you represent a people if you do not know them? It makes no sense at all. An additional point, at times, you're on a roll today, no. At times, the councillors provided, someone mentioned about councillors are put in officers, so that if the MP is not present, they would sit in. No. That's highly funny. The councillors provided are inadequate at times, as they are just the common messengers, so to speak. Oftentimes, these councillors are given the messages, but are the concerns really addressed? Are they addressed? I think not. Most cases, they are not addressed. No, I didn't want to touch the Christian side of things, but the disciples, you went there. The disciples of Christ went into the highways and the byways with Christ, their leader, who we can put now, the MP, because he was the biggest MP in that time. The disciples went with him into the highways and byways and sat with their people and found out the needs and wants of them and sought to address the problems. So no need to be sorry about that and talking about, the disciples, they just went into the highway. They went into the highways and byways for a reason. Now, we cannot use the life of this common man, Mr. Azan. Mr. Azan is Mr. Azan, a completely different person, a different man. I rest my case.
We thank you very much, government member, and we now call upon the opposition member to extend the debate from her vantage point. Let's make her welcome.
Make time. We agree. Whether or not you live there, make time. Now, before I get into my substantives, I have some rebuttals. Using the family setting here, Mr. Prime Minister, is very ludicrous because an MP and a parent figure does not have the same roles. And I think we are not understanding what the role of an MP is, and I don't think my government truly understands what the role of an MP is. And before I even tell you what the role of an MP is, My Prime Minister, you based your argument on democracy, and I still don't see what democracy and this debate has to do with each other, because living in a constituency does not mean you're going to be democratic. You can be democratic from anywhere. I still don't get that point, so I had to touch on it. Democracy is a government of the people where the rights are vested in the people. You do not have to live in the constituency to be democratic, do you? Anyways, now let me tell you what the role of an MP is. An MP's role, not accepted. An MP's role is to participate in debates and voting on legislation and other matters. And some MPs, as we know, even have a role in Parliament as a minister, as a spokesperson, like Mr. Frank Witter, my MP from South St. Elizabeth. They help their constituents by advising on problems, represent concerns of their constituents in Parliament, and act as a figurehead for the local area. They are not mothers or fathers, my Prime Minister. Not accepted. MPs do not have to live in the area to fulfill their role. Why are we even having this debate? They have their offices already in those constituencies. What we should require of our MPs are clear office times. Stick to your office times. Have sanctions for them when they do not stick to their office times. Let their constituents know their office times so that they can relate to their MPs. They don't have to live there. Not accepted. Also, we have councillors and mayors who reside in these constituencies and who relate to the MP. Why should it be a requirement for MPs to live in the area? Why should it even matter? Why am I standing here debating this? Why is the government even wasting time on this? What the Jamaican people need are persons who will put in place plans to fulfill the needs of the constituents, whether or not they live there. In a world that is so advanced, my government, the world that is so advanced, why are we putting physical boundaries on our MPs? Now, give me the points, my Prime Minister, to prove why this requirement will be advantageous. Give me the points to prove why them living there and them not living there, why we cannot still get the same advantages based on the roles of the MP that I clearly outlined at the starting of my debate. Give me the points, my Prime Minister. I accept your point, Prime Minister. No. Prime Minister.
Okay. You talk about democracy and this debate which you do not understand. We say that we achieve greater representation on this side of the voice of the people. Hence, if you represent the people and greater representation is achieved, democracy is achieved.
A leader is great from anywhere in the world. A leader is great from anywhere in the world, my Prime Minister. You do not have to live in the constituents to be a leader. You do not have to live in the constituent to represent. Let me tell you now. There is no correlation, my Prime Minister, not accepted, between living close and an increase in performance. It's a fallacy. I have yet to see the correlation from your points on how living in the area, and I'm sure my judges don't see it either, how is living in the area going to increase the MP's performance? I am still to see that point. Why are we having this debate? Let me tell you what we need from our MPs. We don't need our MPs to be living in the constituent. Let me extend the debate by saying that we need accountability from our MPs. And we don't have to get accountability from them living in the area. They have their offices in the area. They not accepted. They have their councillors and mayors in the area. They have their spokespersons in the area. What we need from them are reports. What we need from them are outline of plans and success rates. What we need from our MPs are clear objectives and goals. What we need from our MPs are fulfillment reports. That is accountability. Accountability is not living there, because you can live there and still not fulfill your role. I am telling you that, and we should know that. Now, since they did not outline any advantages that come with MPs living in the area, let me give you some disadvantages that can come with MPs living in the area. We will have an increase in nepotism and colleaguism, and I see that for myself. My MP who lives in the area, you know what he does? He provides for his family and friends first. And I see that happening. So, since you did not give the advantages of that, let me give you the disadvantages. When we have MPs living in the area, living in their area and living in their small communities,
that point?
Not accepted. We will have an increase in favoritism where they are short-sighted towards a specific number of persons and not the community in its entirety. What we need then, not accepted. What we need then judges, what we need then, government, is an increase in the education of citizens so that they can make more informed choices and vote for better Minister of Parliament. We do not need accepted. Because
Whether or not you live in a community, you don't have to be biased. You can be far and biased, in and biased. But if you're in and biased, it is obvious that increased representation, accountability, and it is seen, improve democracy. That's what we are saying.
And as I said before, as I said before, Prime Minister, yes, I agree with you. But let me tell you why I agree with you. No, you're saying that we can have bias from anywhere, right? That's what you said. That's what I heard him say. We can have bias from anywhere. But I'm telling you that we will have more bias from them living in those communities because I have seen it myself. I have been a part of youth groups who've seen it themselves. When MPs live in the communities, they're more biased. They now have a short-sighted views of certain groups that they help more than others because they grew up in those communities, because they reside in... All right, let me use the road. We will have MPs fixing roads that are close to their homes because they drive on it. And I see that happening all the time. They fix the roads because so you have Ballyas and you have Trayal here, but Frankwita didn't fix Trayal because Frankwita lives in Bally. So Bally roads get fixed first. So let me tell you something. We need accountability, and I said that before. Let me summarize my points. There's no correlation between an MP living in the area and an MP's performance.
Thank you very much, opposition member of the opposition, for extending the debate the way you have. And now we go back to side government to hear from the government whip, who will summarize the debate as he sees it. Let us make him welcome.
Good afternoon. Now I have a question for the closing opposition. Are you saying that it is wrong for a man to take care of his family before anyone else? Is that what you're saying? I don't agree with that. Judges, audience, I am not sure why this topic is even up for debate, because I can only see great benefit, and the government side has only provided benefits as to why we agree with this motion. What our side is saying is simple. If any individual wants to become a member of parliament for a particular area, it makes sense for that individual to live or to have residency in that area. Reason being, there must be some high level of interest. I am not going to want to run for any community that I have no interest in. I will want to make a change, build a relationship with the people so that that community can be a much better place for myself, my family, and for the people. As mentioned by our Prime Minister, people respond positively when they are being led by a good leader. I repeat, not accepted at this time. People respond positively when they are being led by a good leader. And there is something extremely special about leaders who actually experience what their followers are going through at the same time. Accepted.
How many times does a leader need to experience a challenge for them to know that it is a challenge?
As much time as it takes. Even with us as workers for the government, we may watch the news, we may hear about what is going on in our society, but let us be honest. How much does this really affect us as government workers? We only sit up here in this nice AC office and we discuss what we can do. If we were in that situation, we would be much more passionate about ensuring that whatever needs to be done to fix the problem will be done. Also, representation is very important. How can an MP be a good representative for Mandeville if he only comes here to give away free bun and cheese and a pink milk? Free bun and cheese and a pink milk when he wants support from the people. Of course, everything is going to look fine and dandy because everyone loves free things. But he will never know exactly what is going on in the community because he does not live there. He does not experience what they experience. He does not know about not having water to shower. He does not know about waking up in the morning and not having anything to eat. Thirdly, cohesiveness. By way of definition, this is the quality of forming a united whole. A phone call from a community member explaining what he is going through does not promote cohesiveness in any way. There is a reason that counselors have face-to-face sessions. It makes it much easier for clients to open up and to work with these people. Members in the community needs to be comfortable enough to be willing to work with their MPs so that the community can be a better place. This will only be a benefit as
Point of information.
accepted.
This side is yet to bring forth the benefits of this
Please
them
have a seat.
living
Weren't you
there and
listening
for
to
them not
my prime minister?
for them living there and for
Weren't
them
you listening to me as I explained exactly what was just said? I just listed out all of the benefits, and this is one more right here. There will be a benefit to the community and a much larger, like the society, in a positive way. They would only want what is the best for their community, and they will be willing to work with each other to improve the area they live in. And on this point, I rest my case.
And so we thank the government whip for concluding the debate on the government side. And now to conclude the debate as a whole, let us welcome the opposition whip. Hear, hear.
So, for the next 7 minutes, I'll be highlighting, first of all, some of the main clashes that we see in this particular debate. We have some very important questions, and we will ask those questions and decide which one of those particular sides have answered those questions way better, which society and which side actually brings great utility for an entire side, which side actually brings greater democracy and true representation that benefits the people. Therefore, of course, we're looking at it from a cost-benefit analysis and, of course, from a utilitarian of which end really brings out greater maximum benefit for the larger number of people. So, first of all, the Prime Minister comes here and he gives us a sickening analogy of prime ministers and MPs and comparing them with paternal figures, which we found is very weird. We think it's a bad analogy to begin with because we say, first of all, that both of them cannot be equated because, first of all, in the terms of the roles that they fulfill, and in the particular situation that father could be here and mom could be away working. So it means that, of course, on any side of the way, you still get more benefit. So it doesn't really matter. So let us say that the MP is the mother, so she goes away, right? And the father now is the council and mayor. So therefore, while the MP is away, ensuring that they can garner those particular money, if we're still going to work with the sickening analogy that they brought, then we say that they come back and they also bring those particular things. And of course, father tells mother that here are the particular situations. The bread has run out, the sugar has run out. We need you to ensure that when you come back here, that you bring bread and sugar and those particular things. Therefore, we have already proven to you that you don't necessarily, you do not need to be in a particular community for you to actually present the particular needs of those particular individuals. So it clashes are quasi-altruism versus true representation in parliament and living away versus living in Moko. We say, first of all, for the first one, in terms of quasi-altruism, that is what they're really bringing to us. Because they're saying that we need these individuals to be living in this particular community for a show, not necessarily because we want them to really bring better good for these particular communities. Because if that was the case, then we would have wanted them to go to the seat where they actually make these particular decisions, where they can actually impact. We say, of course, true representation and true democracy ensures that at all particular stages there's accountability, which is what we on the lower house have brought to you. We say that what you need to increase all of these things is not necessarily moving them, but increasing accountability, because we say even if you move these particular individuals in these communities, that does not guarantee accountability. Why is this very important? Because we're saying that in the case of Azan, which is a very good example, and not as a bad example as she gave, because she really had not given any example to show where is it that this has worked. But we're saying in the case of Azan, he lives in this particular community. He has business in these particular communities, but yet the roads are not fixed. These particular things are not fixed. We say accountability would fix those particular problems that they have brought on their side. Accountability from a global, from a larger cross-section brings greater good, which benefits a greater number of people. Yeah.
Your argument is that moving does not increase accountability, but we are saying that it increases the chances of them being accountable and to be held
so
accountable.
You're talking about chances. Which one is more concrete and which one has proven? Which one will we be guaranteed to bring better success? We're saying that is a model that is untested, is an hypothesis that is not proven. They're assuming that moving these individuals within these communities. But we're saying that in our example that we have shown that that assumption has proven wrong. Where Azan lives in the particular community, where he drives on the same road, where he talks to these people and see them face to face, but that has not brought greater good for those particular individuals. And of course it has not, because MPs over the years have not been held accountable for those particular positions that they have been put in place in. Yes.
No, our policy did not stipulate that these persons must move into the community. What our policy stipulates is that they actually already live in the community
but
before
that's
they
what we're
even
saying,
enter.
Mr. Speaker. We're still not able to determine what are the benefits. We're saying, so what? It doesn't really matter whether this debate is not whether or not they should or should not. We're saying, really, what this debate is about, how do we ensure that we can have great representation for the people? How do we ensure that we can have greater accountability where MPs actually represent the needs of those particular individuals in the community? He talked about the man, the way he came with this bizarre thing where he blatantly supported cronyism and nepotism, where he says that is it bad for a father to take care of his family first? We're saying it is very bad, especially if that person is an MP who is using public money for his own personal gains. And we're saying that is also bad. And the other thing about the free bun and milk, we're saying that could be fixed with what the government member had brought you about a more educated set of individuals who are not gullible and not hungry and craven, but individuals who understand that they need individuals who will actually present these particular things. How do we know they'll actually present the needs of these people? Because we say we're increasing accountability. How do we need to increase accountability? We say by reports, by outline of plans. We say by clear objectives and goals, the fulfillment of it. But we also have brought to you the fact that mayors and councils are already living in these particular communities, but that doesn't guarantee that your problems are fixed. We're saying now that therefore accountability, a cross-section of accountability is a better way of fixing in this particular individuals. Therefore, you don't need to live in a community to know. You don't need to live in a community to know what the problems are. That's a ludicrous idea. These individuals grow up in these particular communities. They run around with Mary and Jane and these particular individuals. And the statistics have shown you that if there was somebody from a different community who was coming into these particular constituents, that they would not have voted for them. Therefore, we say that negates the entire idea. So therefore, these individuals have grown up in these particular communities. What do you think? Do you think politicians only wait until they see something on the news? What do you think the councillors do? Boss man, something just happened down here, so 2 persons up in this particular situation. Therefore, the MP is able to be in Kingston and get all of this particular news. So therefore, why does he need to? They have not really and sufficiently provided us with evidences to justify to have these particular individuals. And if they're talking about benefits for a reason, we say determine which side has brought you the greater benefit. We're saying one, a side that guarantees accountability to say that whether or not these individuals are living with these communities, wherever they live, whether it is in Moko or down Alligator Pond, even if they live off the sea or the boat, it doesn't really matter where they live in. We're saying as long as they're guaranteed accountability, it means that the needs of these particular individuals are presented. That's what we have brought, and we say that is very important because this debate really comes down to what are the benefits. So what are some of the, finishing off some of the questions that they have asked, and therefore that's the reason we're very happy to oppose this motion.
We wish to thank all debaters for your contributions and your great ideas in this match. We're going to now leave to take a few minutes to mull over your ideas, and then we'll come back to you with the verdict and some feedback.
People, me don't know about you, but me tired of with sons and daughters them are go missing. It is up to all of we to make sure that the youths them make it home, make it through life. Play your part. Sign up to get alerts when a child goes missing. If you have a digital phone, text the word HELP, H-E-L-P, to 444-2432. And if you have a Lime phone, do the same at 444-4230. Protect the youths. Alert the authorities.
An initiative of the Department of Local Government in the Office of the Prime Minister.
The NCU debate team returns to the island after tour of debate duty. The debate team that represented Northern Caribbean University, NCU, at the 2015 Global Health Debates in Manila, Philippines, returned to the island on Sunday after their tour of debate duties in Manila. The team, which comprised coach Noreen Daly and the debaters Sasha Rowe and Delmas Brown, enjoyed a remarkable experience, which we will share with you in our next newscast. Members of the NCU debate team share their experience after tour of debate duties in Manila. Recently, the Northern Caribbean University NCU debate team returned from their tour of debate duties in Manila, Philippines. The debaters did not medal, but the experience was more than what they bargained for. Teammate Sasha Rowe expressed that the competition opened her eyes to a world she never experienced before.
The experience in Manila was good. It was a bit of culture shock for us because in our first round we had what we know as giant debaters. In our first round we had the team from Monash, Cape Town and Yale University. Now it was our first time being on the international scene for debating, but we did our best. It was not the expected outcome, but it actually helped us to move to the second round.
Coach of the debate team, Noreen Daly, opines that the challenges that the NCU debate team and debaters locally experienced may be due to the lack of an active debate circuit in Jamaica.
NCU debaters or Jamaican debaters or debaters from this region will always be at a disadvantage because we don't have an active debate circuit, whether nationally or within the Caribbean. People in the US, people on the European, people on the Asian circuit, they have active debate circuits. They have different competitions. So for our debaters, it wasn't a matter of knowledge base. It's really a matter of technique, why we would not have advanced. So I am comfortable and confident with how prepared they were. I just really think that it is that we really need to be more involved in international debate competitions.
Despite the challenges associated with the competition and not realizing expected outcomes, Ms. Rowe expressed that she was able to take lifelong lessons from Manila.
The highlight of the debating process for me was how everybody from different cultural backgrounds, from different parts of the world actually came together to actually discuss something that was of global importance for everyone, global health debates. So that for me actually stood out.
Head coach Noreen Daly, who also went as an adjudicator, went on to adjudicate several matches, including the final match of the competition, an experience she likened to a big break.
For this competition, just as how they were evaluated as debaters and you would advance, as an adjudicator, I was also evaluated. I made what they would call top 16, so I was a breaking judge. And I remember the day before the finals, they said, you must be on alert because you might be asked to judge the finals. And in my mind, I said no, because there are other people who are more seasoned than myself, people who some of the people who were part of the adjudication court, they were actually flown in from different parts of the world to judge this competition. So who am I? Noreen Daly from NCU. But I was asked, and I was one of 5. And it was somehow, obviously I must have impressed somebody. I must have been doing something right why they thought that they could have asked me to be one of the judges for the finals.
Ms. Daly stated that it is her hope that the Manila experience will not only attract students to the art of debating at NCU, but also to advance the debate agenda across academic institutions in Jamaica. The debate team to Manila comprised the head coach Noreen Daly and the debaters Sasha Rowe and Delmas Brown. And we want to congratulate the debate team for waving the NCU flag so high all the way over there in Manila.
I want to be a media and communications expert. Where can I go?
Northern Caribbean University Department of Communication Studies is the school for you. DCS offers the opportunity to start an associate or a bachelor's degree in mass communications at their Mandeville or Kingston campus. DCS gives you the flexibility of emphasizing in radio, television, public relations, advertising, or even journalism. DCS includes hands-on technical training, internship, international exposure, or even learning how to speak a second language. DCS produces weddings, concerts, and mini productions. DCS.
Developing talents, building a nation.
When you use the road, you need to be aware of how your action affects others.
I go around the corner. Only to see a man stopping on the big road. But some people are crossing on a blind corner.
When motorists have to stop on the green light to allow people to cross, it creates problems.
People just can't walk out on the road, so man. From a corner, from behind vehicle, they need to be more careful, man.
We have overhead bridges, pedestrian crossings, and crosswalks. Some of them even have signals to tell you when to cross.
People, walk on the sidewalk. If there is none, walk on the right side. And please, if you can't find a pedestrian crossing, make sure the road clear before you cross. Drivers need to drive good.
But pedestrian need to walk good too.
Walk good.
The following is a message from the Road Safety Management Unit.
Mommy, can you read me a story, please?
Again?
Please.
Okay. Once upon a time, in a land not too far away, there were 2 men. No, not these 2. The proceeding was brought to you by the Road Safety Management Unit.
This is my appeal, Jamaica, give blood for it.
Give blood and give the gift of life. So safe you don't have to think twice. Do what you can for one another.
Yeah, man.
Be a hero, be a blood donor.
Yeah, me people, watch it. Give blood for your sister and your brother, save the life of another. You might never know. Give blood, cause you love a life, you love many people, one blood. The Father says so.
One blood.
Sign up today, be a blood donor. Many people, one blood.
So word from the adjudication panel is that we witnessed this afternoon a spectacular debate, and I think we should begin with a hearty round of applause. Very well done. It's an issue we feel that is of national significance. We hope some decision makers in Jamaica were watching this, but our debaters dealt with the issues in a very informed way. So we want to commend you once again. Let's just look at the issues that were significant in our minds as judges and how it is that we came to arriving at the decision. So the opening government opens the debate essentially establishing that, well, we need to have people who have a vested interest in the development of constituencies and hence their policy to ensure that people are mandated to live within the constituency if it is that they're going to represent those constituencies. All right, that's a synopsis, justification of government's policy. And they prophesy almost that there's going to be increased democracy, and increased democracy because the representatives will understand the issues more and be better able to articulate in the interest of the constituencies. We get an idea from the Deputy Prime Minister that shared experiences are important. You need to be able to say, yes, I have lived these experiences in order to truly appreciate them and to represent them in a context where there are multiplicity of interests being advocated to, for example, central government. All right? From side opposition, we get a different vantage point coming into the debate. So we get ideas that it's going to be problematic because what we're going to be experiencing is a requirement to uproot MPs and to move them from where they are comfortable to go and live in constituencies that they may not want to live in. And given, for example, the fact that people have fundamental rights as it relates to where they live and where they move around and so forth, this essentially violates some fundamental human rights, and those are quite problematic. Okay. We also engage with the question as to where exactly does representation take place? Does it take place in the constituency primarily, or is it in the parliament? So we got an idea that it's really the House of Parliament, the Parliament really, where the true representation takes place, and essentially government's policy essentially adds to the cost of transporting persons to Parliament, etc. Right? On side government, we get a different take that representation takes place after having had an appreciation of the experiences, the lived experiences of peoples within the constituencies. We felt that a bit of both is true in this debate. We felt that, in fact, there needs to be a true appreciation, a realistic, not a detached, separated appreciation from people's experiences. We felt that was very much legitimate in order for true representation to take place in the House of Parliament. All right? We also appreciated the idea that there is, to a large extent, no guarantee coming to us from side government that shows to us that, yes, in fact, representation will be improved, that people's interest will be better served. We very much liked the idea from closing opposition that said, we run the risk of experiencing and exposing ourselves to challenges such as nepotism and so forth. And we like those ideas because it was, generally speaking, for the first time in the debate, we got strong ideas about core concerns that would arise if it is that we were to go with government's policy. And we very much appreciate that, Madam Opposition Member. We liked very much too the presentation from the opposition whip. He essentially made the debate real for us, in a sense telling us that, you know, there are other representatives within the constituency who could channel information back to the MP if the MP is outside of that constituency, and that is perfectly fine. It happens elsewhere. Why shouldn't it happen here in this context as well? We also appreciated the idea that, well, you know, we're essentially robbing the constituency from the best representation that it could possibly get, because the best representation might not be in that constituency. And given the failure of side government, in a sense, to prove to us that living in the constituency will essentially result in best or better representation, we felt that that argument coming to us from closing opposition stood in this debate. The role of the MP was an important idea in the debate. We felt that, generally speaking, there's not an adequate understanding as to what exactly is the role of an MP. We heard that an MP is essentially your family member, your friend, you know, somebody who sympathizes with you closely, or your MP in another instance coming to us from the closing opposition, the member in particular, is the legislator, the person who goes and takes somehow your idea from the constituency and advocates in your interest in the parliament. And those are two distinct roles. So we feel that, generally speaking, there needs to be a greater appreciation as to the role of the MP in particular. There might very well be a culture in Jamaica that sees the MP being looked upon as being the father figure of the community, but in reality it might not be that in fact. Okay. So those, ladies and gentlemen, are some of the ideas that we contended with in the very short space of time that we took to deliberate. And so it now falls on me, the task of sharing the results. I'm sure or you want me to talk a little more? I'm going to talk a little more? No? Oh, okay. All right. Results you want, results you have. So we have in fourth place, we have the team in opening opposition. Fourth place, congratulations. In third place, we have the team in closing government. And so we have two teams remaining. We have opening government as well as closing opposition remaining. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners, I'll just announce the winners, and by default you'll be able to decide who the second place team is. The winners of the 2018 Debate and Argumentation Final Debate Competition is, give me a drum roll, very, very well, is the team in closing opposition. Congratulations, closing oppositions. Well tried to all our teams, and certainly well tried as well, especially the second place team, the opening government team. Want also to highlight and commend the contribution of what we consider to be the best debater in today's match, that being the opposition whip. Congratulations. Thank you very much, and I now take my leave.
On behalf of the host, I thank the adjudicators and the clerk for their assistance. I congratulate all the debaters on their performances, and I thank the members of this noble house for their attentiveness. Since this debate has now concluded and there is no more other business on the order paper, this house stands adjourned.
This isn't being Mike, so I'm just going to make the presentation while the credits are rolling. So I'm going to call on Mr. Jermaine Barrett, who traveled from Kingston to be our chief adjudicator. Yes. Really, though? Good.